The beginning of our Parsha this week recounts Yaakov's amazing vision of God. Yaakov was running away from his brother Esav, who was out to kill him, and he went to sleep in the open. While he was sleeping, God appeared to him in a dream which showed a ladder stretching from earth to heaven with angels going up and down it. And God assured Yaakov that all would be well. That is all fine, but the rabbis point out that there is a hidden subtext of miracles underlying this story. The Talmud in Sanhedrin derives from clues in the Hebrew text that the place where Yaakov stopped was none other than the future site of the temple. Yaakov was unaware of this and was going to move on, so God made the sun set miraculously early in order to make him stay. And there God promised him that although for now he only had the space occupied by his body and a tiny little wall of stones which he placed around his head, a miracle would happen in the future. Yaakov's descendants would spread across the whole country, and their influence would spread across the whole world. And not only that, they would spread out not as marauders or invaders, but bringing blessing. God said, "All the families of the earth will be blessed through you and your descendants." So why the miracles? Rav Nachman of Breslov gives an explanation. God showed Yaakov that time is subject to divine rule. Yaakov, this solitary Jew, was stopped in his tracks by a miraculous early sunset, so that he would learn that he was not subject to time, but that, rather, time is subject to his God-given destiny. God also showed Yaakov that space is subject to God's will. Above Yaakov's head, a ladder linked his pitiful bed of earth and stones to the very heavens, showing that there is a beautiful spiritual connection to be found in the most unpromising of places. Yaakov also learned that instead of being isolated in that dismal spot, his descendants would break out far and wide and transform humanity with the message of the kingdom of God. That place that seemed so meager was transformed by God's command into a gateway to the heavens and to a spectacular future that would transcend geopolitics and span the globe. Don't you see, says Rav Nachman of Breslov, the laws of space and time could not withstand the touch of Yaakov our father, because God is in charge of history, and for God, time and space are sometimes just not important enough to be allowed to get in the way. Perhaps Yaakov had to learn this lesson specifically after he had been hounded out of his home and family by Esav, his brother. Yaakov was feeling the pressure of circumstances particularly acutely. Home and homeland were closed off to him on pain of death. His parents' love and peaceful meditative lifestyle were suddenly a distant memory. The future was looking none too bright either. The only hope he had for a home was his uncle Lavan, who was known to be greedy and untrustworthy. Yaakov was boxed in. Precisely now, when he had lost his place and looked like he had run out of time, he needed to learn that time and place are just two jewels in God's scepter. It takes a Yaakov to see beyond all this, to realize that all the so-called inexorable laws of nature, economics, time and place are merely God's tools to direct our destiny and challenge us to find him, even when, like Yaakov, we feel abandoned and desperate. But Rav Nachman says, if we are not Yaakov, we nonetheless have his insight as a legacy for us all. We too have been living through difficult circumstances, and the science of coronavirus has weighed heavily upon us. Like Yaakov, we too can take heart and look not just to the future, but to God. Our destiny is not determined by a virus or an R number or a vaccine or a government edict about what tier we are in. While we observe the mitzvah of caring for our own and others' health, we remember that God is greater than all the threats around us. As proud daughters and sons of Yaakov, we can make his legacy come alive when we bring his message into our lives and see the world through his eyes. And when we learn to do this, all the families of the world will indeed be blessed through us.